welcome back to my third video exploring the subject of computer generated lightning in Photoshop Elements 10. This is a way of celebrating our 5th year of creating free video tutorials, as exactly 5 years ago today I uploaded my first ever video onto YouTube, and of course the rest is history. If you've been following along in the previous 2 videos, then you've seen me transform a photograph of a valley storm in Utah into this seriously moody and dark lightning storm, and we're about to top it off with some lightning style text. Before we do that, however, let's carry out a little bit of maintenance work in our layers panel by way of giving these layers identifiable names. We're going to be creating a few more layers in this video and the next one, so it's always best to make sure that you know exactly what they are and what they do to your image, more importantly perhaps. So let's go ahead and rename the top layer by double clicking it and calling it lightning, just like so. Okay, now let's get to work creating that text. I'm going to start by creating a cloudy background for the text to sit on. So come down to the bottom of the layers panel and click the new layer icon, and we'll go ahead and name this layer clouds. So double click it and we can call it clouds. There we go, and make sure we have black and white set as our foreground and background colors. Then come back up to the filter menu up here at the top, click render, and this time we want to click the clouds filter, just the plain old clouds filter this time, not the difference clouds as we've used before. Now that's no good because we can't see any of our image below, so I'll just use the same trick as I used with the lightning to get rid of all the black areas and give us some chance of seeing what's below in the layers panel. So come over to the layers panel itself and change the blend mode of that clouds layer from normal to screen. Next up, we need to restrict the cloud effect to the lower third of the image. So come back down to the bottom of the layers panel and click the mask icon to add a mask to the active layer. Now come back over to the gradient tool and give it a click, and then come up to the editor icon in the options bar and make sure we either have the black to white option active or the foreground to background option, as the swatches down here are black and white anyway, so they're both going to achieve the same result. Then hit the OK button when you're ready to roll. Now here's what I recommend you do. Click somewhere near the center of the image and then drag down to the quarter position or the 3/4 position, whichever way you want to look at it, and it's going to be somewhere like this. Hold down the shift key to confine the drag to the vertical plane and then release, and that should look fairly good, which I think it does. Now to add some text. Go ahead and grab the type tool from the toolbox over here on the left hand side, and make sure it's the horizontal type tool rather than any of the other versions of it, by the way. We don't want to be choosing something that's going to create some crazy effects. We want the standard type tool, and then set yourself a font and size that's appropriate for the image that you are using. And if you're following along with me using the project files available to members here at freephotoshop.com, then I'm going to go for a font named Impact. So go ahead and find that in your fonts menu. It's a very popular font, comes along with most systems, so you should have it up there somewhere. And I'm also going to set the size of the font to 30 points, just like so. And then I'll click the color swatch, and I'm going to make sure the color picker dialog box is out of the way, and then using the eyedropper I'll lift a color from one of the blues over here in the storm. Something like that looks good to me, and then I'll click OK to accept those changes. I'm now going to click inside the image, and in capitals I'll write the word Utah, and then hit the green check mark in the options bar to confirm it. Now I'll hit the letter V on the keyboard to invoke the move tool, and I'll move the text block somewhere down here towards the bottom of the image. Next up, come up to the select menu, and I'll choose the all command, and then on the options bar I'll choose the align option and choose horizontal centers, so we can make sure that our text is horizontally aligned along the center of the image. I'll then come back up to the select menu and I'll choose the deselect option just like so. Next up, we're going to give the text a grungy, burnt and singed effect. So to do that, I'm going to make sure the text layer is active, and then I'll press Ctrl or Command J on the keyboard to essentially duplicate the layer. I'm now going to turn off the visibility of the original layer and then right click the duplicated version and choose Simplify Layer to turn it into pixels. Next, I'm going to come up to the filter menu and I'm going to choose the stylize submenu and then choose the wind filter. So make sure that our method is set to wind and our direction is set to from the right, and then click OK. Now let's go back to the filter menu. We'll select stylize again and then we'll select wind once again as well, and this time we'll change the direction to from the left and we'll click OK. Now that's looking good, but I'm not convinced it's going to be strong enough at this stage, so I'll repeat those steps by coming back up to the filter menu. We'll choose stylize again and then we'll choose wind once again, and I'll set it to the right and then hit OK, and then I'll repeat that again. So filter, stylize and wind, and this time I'll choose left and I'll hit OK. That's looking good. I want to do the same at the top and bottom of the text, but as you saw there in the wind dialog box, there are no top or bottom options inside the filter. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to rotate the image so the left and right options will affect the top and bottom of the text block. So come up to the image menu if you want to see what I mean, and then select the rotate command, and then we'll choose the 90 degrees left option, which as you can see will turn the whole image around by 90 degrees. Now if I want to replay the last filter used from the keyboard to save us going through the menus again, which can be quite frustrating as you've probably seen, we could just press Ctrl F here on the PC or Command F on the Mac. However, I might want to change some parameters in the dialog box before running the filter. So to force the display of the dialog box, I'll hit Ctrl Alt F here on the PC or Command Option F on the Mac, and we get the wind filter back up again, and we get to make any changes to the filter itself before we apply it. So I'll set the direction to from the right, and then I'll press OK, and I'll repeat that step as we're applying it twice in each direction, remember. So Ctrl Alt F, we'll set it to the right, and then we'll hit OK. I'll do the same thing again for the other direction, so let's hit Ctrl Alt F to open the wind filter. I'll set it to from the left and hit OK, and then once more we'll hit Ctrl Alt F, we'll leave it as it is and press OK, and there we have it. Now we need to rotate the image back again, so let's come back up to the image menu. We'll press rotate and then we'll choose 90 degree right this time, which should have us back to where we started. Next I want to take this grungy text and turn it black so it can represent, I guess, the burning effect that we're trying to pull off. So let's rename the layer to something like burn, just like so, and then come down and click on the adjustment layer icon and choose levels. Now if we drag the black point around like so, then we change the whole image. So let's click on the clipping icon at the bottom here, and that will restrain our amendments to just the one layer below the adjustment, which just so happens to be the burning effect layer. So let's drag the black point over to the middle of the histogram, ensuring the text turns black, and then once we're happy we can double click the layers panel header to expand it, and then drag it back up a touch just like this if we need to. Now we can turn the original text layer back on and we get this pretty neat burned out text effect, I hope you'll agree. But we're not finished yet. Now we need to add a subtle glow coming from behind the font, and we'll do that by adding a layer style. So first off, make sure that you have your effects panel open. If you don't, then you can open it from up here in the Windows menu. Next, make sure that you have the layer styles button active and that this submenu to the right is set to outer glow. And I'll make sure that the Utah text layer is active by clicking on it, and then in the effects panel I'll find the simple outer glow, which is this one here. You can see what it's called if you hover the mouse above it, and then I'll double click it to apply it to the active layer. Now that looks good, but it's going to look even better when we've made a few minor manual changes. To do that, I'll double left click the FX icon next to the layer over here in the layers panel, and I'll get this dialog box come up, and I'll make sure that the style settings are set as we need them. So let's have a look. We'll move this first of all to the left hand side so we've got it out the way of the image, we can see what's going on. Now I'll click the outer glow color swatch, and I'm going to want to set this to light blue. So if we have our color picker up here, we can sample a color from the text, and then we can move the color reference point to a touch of a lighter hint of that particular color, just like so. And when we're done, we'll press OK to accept the color. Next, I'm going to move the opacity slider up to 100%, and then we can adjust the size of the glow to whatever looks good with the image. So I'll take it down to 0 pixels and then move it up a touch to see what looks good. And something like this will suit us well, I think. I'll click OK to accept the changes. Okay folks, coming up in the final video, I'll show you how to add lightning flashes to the text to give it just a little bit more drama than what we've got going on already. So once again, I'll hit the tab key so that we can see the image that we've been working on so far without the distractions of the panels on the side and all of that jazz. And we can also see from this view more clearly than any other view just how far we've come with this photograph. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video right here at freephotoshop.com.